What's up, co-reporters, and welcome back to my channel. Let's recap what went down on the debut episode of season 11 of Vanderpump Rules, shall we? Guys, I just have to say right off the bat, because this is weighing heavy on me, but Lala Kent, keep an eye out for her because it really truly seems like she low-key hates Ariana. I don't know if it's because of all of the support that Ariana has been getting since the scandal broke, or if it's just something that's been festering for a long while. I personally think that it is a mixture of the two of them because we did see in the prior seasons the way that these two ladies weren't really getting along and the way that Lala kind of was on the attack with Ariana. Remember when she said that Ariana's voice made her skin crawl or something like that, like at the engagement dinner or lunch for James and Raquel? Like, I feel like this has been festering for a while and it really came to a head in the debut episode already. So just you wait. I feel like by the end of the season, leading up into season 12, if there is a season 12, we're going to see a massive fallout between the two of them. Let me know in the chat or in the comments if you agree with me on that. Okay. Now, let's kick it off. So we start off basically with Lala talking about how she is still suspicious of men. She's talking to Lisa Vanderpump about this, and she's just still traumatized over Randall. At this point, listen, I was already sick of her crying about it last season because it was very obviously a gold digger situation. And in a gold digger situation, you're not supposed to be attached. Get your money and keep it moving. Don't be crying about this like you're some innocent girl who fell in love, with this man of all men out there for pure reasons. It's not pure, and it's hard to have sympathy for that kind of a situation. You're supposed to be a shark, in my opinion, if you go down that line. And she played herself. She really just did at the end of the day. So this is where she takes her first shot at Ariana. Okay. So she talks about how she's suspicious of men. And so her main example here is Ariana's new boyfriend. Ever since the scandal broke and everything like that, Ariana has moved on to a new boyfriend, a man who lives in New York. And I admit, and I have made a video about this on TikTok, that I think that it's rather quick for Ariana to get into a new situation. She just got out of a decade-long relationship. The ending was super traumatic, a double, tromperie, a double cheating, right? Her friend cheated on her as a bestie, and her partner of 10 years cheated on her as a boyfriend as well. So in my opinion, I do believe that to go from that to months later getting into another serious relationship, it shows that you have a problem with being alone. You might be a codependent person, or a person who's just incapable of enjoying their own company, and healing before moving on to the next, right? But I'm not Ariana's friend, right? Lala is supposed to be Ariana's friend, one of her best friends, in fact, someone who had been so passionately writing for her all the past season and everything like that. But she says, I distrust men so much that I look at Ariana and her new man and I'm thinking, what's his motive? I'm like, really? Really? I feel like I look at men like Brock more so and think, what's his motive? Right? Than Ariana's new man. Again, I think anybody who gets involved with someone who is at least somewhat famous, you do have to side eye them. In terms of women, I look at James's new girlfriend, Allie, and think, what's her motive? Because I really, truly feel like that woman can barely stand him based off of what she presented and he presented in the last season of the show, right? And I think that there's so many other men she could have used. She could have been like, what about Schwartz? Schwartz is allegedly dating this Joe girl, hot off his divorce. What's his motive? I don't know. I just felt that it was interesting that she had to go after Ariana's relationship so soon, especially, and you'll see it as we continue in this recap, because this is not the first time that she's going to go after Ariana in some way, shape, or form. Now, a little bit in the next scene, we get to see James Kennedy and Tom Schwartz meeting up for drinks. They both look great, might I add, very clean, which James typically looks clean and well dressed and whatnot, but Schwartz typically looks disheveled and kind of like he doesn't shower that often. So this compliment is more for Tom Schwartz. So Tom Schwartz talks about how his business has been struggling for a while ever since the scandal broke. People are thoroughly disgusted by the way in which Tom Sandoval ended his relationship with Ariana, the cheating, the lying, the manipulating, the playing the victim. Like, people are just not having it. And they definitely let it be known at their place of business, which is named after the two of them, Schwartz and Sandy's, which really is unfair, not only to Schwartz, but also to the people who work there and depend on that paycheck and whatnot. Like it's very unhinged to take some random reality TV drama featuring people that you don't actually know in real life and who don't know you, don't really care about you like that, right? And take it into the real world and be really truly offended on behalf of some, it's foolish and it's crazy, and people were doing that. So I will say though that I wish that we got to see some like footage of like the lipstick on the mirrors that he would be talking about. He talks about this on different podcasts and stuff like that as well, and Watch What Happens Live, if I'm not mistaken. So I would have loved to see that, like just like actual proof that people are this unhinged to go to their place of business and really do this sort of thing. I'm not saying that I doubt him. I think that it would just make it, what he's saying and the stress that he was under, all that much more impactful to people, right? It really, really was wrong what certain people did, for real. Now, Schwartz goes on to tell James, listen, I am so pissed about all of the fallout of this affair and Scandoval and everything like that. I told Sandoval, man to man, best friend to best friend, listen, with all the garbage and the hatred and the drama that your affair with Raquel or Rachel has caused in our lives, I truly hope that you stay with her for life. And I hope that you make it worth it, which, I feel like good. I feel like that's something I would say to somebody too. Like, you went and blew up your entire life, your reputation. You better have been sure about that decision you make. You better be soulmates with this woman, because if that is the case, people will forget eventually, right? For example, ironically enough, Tom Sandoval and Ariana Madix started off as an affair. At first, people didn't really like that. It wasn't a huge deal like this because Ariana and Christian were never friends, but people eventually forgot about it and allowed them to coexist as quote unquote soulmates, right? And Schwartz also talked about how Sandoval and him, they had a big fight when they were starting up the business because Schwartz didn't want their names on it. He wanted it to be named something else, but Sandoval, being the alleged narc that he is, really insisted on having his name up there in shining lights. And Schwartz said, like, now look, you see what I mean? Because your name is on that business. And when you have a name out there like that, and it's the business, you better hold yourself to a certain standard. And that is just not what you did by the way that you behaved. And look at how much it's costing us. I know that on the Nick Vile Files podcast, Tom Schwartz recently said that Sandoval had to take a step back and become more of a silent partner just because his reputation is just so terrible at this point. It's bad for business. I just want to know how much that hurts a man like Tom Sandoval, who is just so self-important, right? Now, speaking of self-important, let's get into Scheana Shay. Scheana Shay, I don't know, like, again, I talk about this all the time. I used to talk about this with Shannon Van. Shout out to Shannon Van, a fellow Canadian YouTuber. I am like a sucker for like good-looking people. I just like, if you're a really attractive man or woman, I give you the benefit of the doubt. And I know that there's studies on like people like me and how like most people are like that. But I've let Scheana get away with so many things because to me, she's just gorgeous. Of all the girls, I think she's just absolutely stunning. So I've foolishly let her get away with so much. And people have always said that woman is just so freaking narcissistic. Anything that happens, she has to find a way to relate it to herself and make herself into the victim. And now I am in my waking up and no longer falling for people's looks era, okay? Because guess what? I saw it and I was just so like laughing to myself, like, oh my God, this woman truly is shameless. And she really has always been this way. I have just ignored it. So for example, Scheana decides to make the Scandoval about herself. She's sitting down with Lala in some sort of a dressing room and she's talking about how she's lost so much weight since the Scandoval happened. It has stressed her out. I'm like, girl, why are you stressed out? Did Tom Sandoval cheat on you and I missed that memo on that? Like, why are you stressed out? Yeah, your friend is sad and this, that, and the other, but your friend is doing all sorts of things. She's doing all sorts of great promotional collaborations with brands. She's traveling here, there, and everywhere. She's doing these wonderful interviews. She's doing Dancing with the Stars. She's about to do Broadway. She's opening up a sandwich shop. And you are just so crying and beside yourself that you're losing so much weight that people suspect you of being on Ozempic. It's just a little bit ridiculous, to be honest with you. And then she said something else, which is that like she apparently has been formally diagnosed with OCD. And she says that the Scandoval triggered her OCD. in the sense that she started having obsessive thoughts about the idea of her husband Brock cheating on her with her best friend, aka Lala. And I'm like, girl, like the compulsion to make everything about yourself is just so fascinating to me. Like, quite literally, what the hell was that? Like, that was just quintessential Sheena. But what can you do? She is who she is. Now, Ariana then talks about how like she initially wanted to keep somewhat of a like distance from Shorts and everything like that, but like she wasn't like, really, really super duper, hateful of him, because remember, Ariana and Tom Schwartz had a pretty decent relationship before all of this. Ariana was one of like his groomsmen at his wedding and everything, despite the wishes of his then fiancée and wife, Katie. So, that's like a triple betrayal for her, right? That this guy who was supposed to be such a good friend to her, who she stood up there with him as a close support for his wedding, was in on everything and hid it from her too, right? So she was going to give him at least somewhat of a little bit of grace, but she was pissed off at Tom Schwartz when he sat up there on Watch What Happens Live and acted like Tom Sandoval was this big victim and how everyone should go hug him if they see him out in public. So she got really pissed. She sent him a text message. She claims, listen, I sent him an angry text message, but it wasn't so bad. But guess what? The receipts came through. Tom Schwartz read the receipts right there on air. So up top you see, and shout out to Bravo by Betches for the capture. Let me take away this banner. Make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. I do cover pop culture news on a near daily basis. Now, so on top, you've got Ariana telling the producers, I don't remember exactly what I said to Shorts, but I don't think it was that bad. And then we cut to Shorts reading it, and it says, F you, blocking your number. Go choke on Sandoval's dirty ass D. And I just found that to be absolutely hilarious. It was just like that fun kind of like lighthearted moment that you need in the midst of the heaviness of all of this stuff going on, right? Because this stuff is very heavy. We're talking about some very, very serious trauma that she's going through. So another thing that pops up is how Tom Schwartz is refusing to move out of that mansion that they bought together. Listen, everybody tried to tell Ariana, don't go buy a house with your boyfriend, right? She's like, I don't need marriage. It's just a piece of paper. So blah, blah, blah. But like, if you were going through a divorce, girl, you can force the sale on that house a lot easier than just with a breakup with your boyfriend. You know what I mean? It could be court ordered by the judge and everything like that in a much easier function. But remember, Ariana was always a big know-it-all. She's like, we're not going to leave each other ever. We're soulmates. We're this, we're that. So she didn't cover her behind the way that she should have. And so now she's stuck looking at this man pretty much every day, but she's not speaking to him directly. She is speaking to his personal assistant. And so we get to see a glimpse of what some of those conversations look like, right? And so here you go. You've got her talking to his assistant. The neighbors are obsessed. Not obsessed. They're upset that Tom Sandoval has got these flashing LED lights. It's disturbing the neighbors. And so his assistant is charged with telling Ariana that his annoying, obnoxious LED lights fall under freedom of speech. You know how I said earlier, making the scandal about herself is a quintessentially Sheena thing. Being unapologetically obnoxious and then trying to cite like something as like, encroaching on your freedom or whatever is so quintessentially Tom Sandoval as well. Oh my God, the shame I feel, because to me, these were the two most like beautiful cast members. So I gave them so much grace for whatever reason for that. I was like obsessed. Listen, I'm a straight woman, but I can appreciate female beauty. Okay. And as a straight woman, I thought Tom Sandoval was gorgeous, but now I find him to be very like repulsive, even now knowing his true character and everything like that he was capable of doing to Ariana. So I definitely do want to clarify that. So there is a point where all of the girls rally up and go to Tom Tom, where James is DJing. And, it felt nice that they were able to go into Tom Tom, because obviously there are terrible, like, nostalgic feelings there for both Katie and Ariana, right? Like, they were the wags of Tom Tom. Tom Tom was the initial restaurant bar that their ex-partners launched, right? And it was in collaboration with Lisa Vanderpump. It was a huge, huge, huge deal. No one on that cast had ever gotten such a huge deal, you know? So that was incredible. And so, like, initially, we see a flashback of them initially going there years ago, and they were so excited and happy and proud of their men. And now they're going back there, like, they're done with those men. Thank God, because those men were trash. And it just carries a different energy to be back there, especially like supporting it. Because you know that this bar being featured on TV is going to support the bar and help people, you know, go and make money for these guys who did you so dirty. Like there's a lot of complicated emotions there. But listen, James is DJing, Lisa Vanderpump is there, and the rest of the cast is there. So they have to go show up and do their job. And Ariana does talk about how complicated she feels about being back there and everything like that, which I could totally understand. And so there is a little bit of a somber energy before Lala. Oh my God, the Victim Tour. I thought she was done with the Victim Tour last year or last season, but she still is on it. And I just can't. She's not the sympathetic victim that she wants to be. I'm sorry. I don't really have it in me to feel bad for this woman after the way she treated Randall's wife. People told her from jump she was with a married man. She pretended that she didn't know that because all she had was her eye on the prize, which was Randall's alleged money. She was under the impression that this man was super rich. I'm sorry, but on what planet does a woman who looked like this go fight tooth and nail to be with a man that looks like Randall? Like for genuine reasons. Like, let's be so effing for real, okay? You know, and I don't even want to get detailed because I feel like that would be mean, but let's be for real, okay? There's no way she would look at Randall in a bar and be like, oh yeah, that's the guy I want to go for. No. And we saw an example of that last season. Do you guys remember where Lala and the girls, they were in Solvang or something like that, or Big Bear, like they were in some random place, and it was a bar full of middle-aged, overweight, unattractive white men. And what does Lala say? Hot off the heels of crying about how she was so in love with her overweight, middle-aged, unattractive white man. Wow, like this bar doesn't have attractive men. Oh, really? You mean this isn't your type? Because the way you be crying over a man who looks like he belongs perfectly fine here, I wouldn't think it. I wouldn't know it. It does not compute, you know? But I digress. This is when she met that black guy. Remember, like a bunch of black guys came and then she got with one, and then we see her bring him around a little bit more, and he wore socks at the beach. I remember being traumatized by that. But I digress. So she's still on her Victim Tour. So she pulls Lisa Vanderpump aside from the table to cry about how she should have listened. Everybody told her he was married, but she couldn't listen. She couldn't. She just had to have this man, the Range Rover, the booty licking. It was just all too good. And it wasn't her getting her booty licked. She was licking that man's booty. Oh Lord, like, you know, it's just, I don't know, man. I can't. I really want her to wrap this up soon because no one's buying what she's selling. And then at a certain point, she's like, you know, there was something that broke my heart when Raquel said in her one-on-one with Andy that she wanted to tell Ariana, but Tom Sandoval had her under the impression that he was all that she had. Like, and that, like, you know, he really ostracized her from her friends and everything like that. And so Lala says that she can relate to that because Randall made her feel that way, that it was she and him against the world, and that he really truly isolated her. And I'm like, are you serious, Lala? Because the meanest person in the entire cast to Raquel and Rachel, long before this affair, news of this affair even broke, was you. You would constantly go so far out of your way to make this woman feel stupid, to make her feel unwelcome, and to make her feel bad about herself on a regular basis. You called her a Bambi-eyed biatch long before this affair came out. You called her stupid. You called her all sorts of names. You used to berate the hell out of this woman and make her feel like she had nobody and that she didn't belong in the group. Now, all of a sudden, because you're on this Victim Tour, you're like, oh, I can relate. I can relate to someone making me feel like no one accepts me. Girl, you're that person that makes people feel like no one accepts them. So stop it. Like, what is she doing? You know, it's just so foolish to me, but I digress. I think that she honestly, like I said at the top of the episode, I think that Lala is over Ariana being so beloved in the midst of this scandal. And she is just using this like fake, oh, I feel so bad for Rachel, to go after Ariana and knock her down a peg at the end of the day, you guys. Like, remember, Lala even went as far as to go on social media pretty much every day dragging Rachel, right? She was the one who led the charge. We're not going to call you Raquel, even though that's what you want to be called. We're going to call you Rachel. She and Sheena released some like a Christmas song where she takes another jab at Rachel. She would go, like, she was the one who went so hard. Or she and James at the reunion, they went harder than the people actually involved in the thing, right? Like Rachel and Tom actually did something to her, and now all of a sudden, oh, I feel so bad for her. She's just so fake, you guys. I can't with this woman. I really can't. But anyway, let's get into Sheena being confronted by Katie, okay? She and Katie are alone at this place. And at this point, Katie says, listen, if I'm going to work forward towards like rebuilding some kind of a friendship with you, I need to know that you're not going to go behind my back and use my words against me to instigate. Because remember, last season, what was Sheena doing? Katie would tell her about how she was like, casually getting back out there, dating a little bit here and there. And Sheena would use that to tell Schwartz, well, listen, your ex-wife's moved on. So there, you can go ahead, be as disrespectful as you want. Go ahead, go kiss a girl in the group, even though she said not to do that. Like, she really was a terrible friend to Katie. So honestly, Katie, like, Sheena's lucky that Katie's even extending that olive branch to her, because I sure as hell would not. I would hold a grudge against her for life, because girls like that, like, just gross to me. And listen, Sheena was successfully iced out last season. We barely saw her. How many scenes? You can count on one hand how many scenes you saw that woman in the entire season. So Katie really does have the upper hand if she wants to continue limiting Sheena's screen time, because at the end of the day, the less that Sheena films and gets that screen time, the less she gets paid, and the more likely it is that she's going to be like eliminated from the show. And I think that that would be a great thing for Katie, to get rid of someone who did her so dirty and continues to do her so dirty. But listen, at this point, they've got shared enemies. And so with that being said, Katie is ready to kind of ally herself with Sheena based on that, which I don't think is going to be a smart move. Sheena's going to backstab her again and again. Now, then after her little discussion with LVP about feeling bad for Rachel, Lala decides to go out the back door into the abyss and send Rachel a voice note about wanting to have a conversation with her. And like, the idea is, listen, Rachel, I really want to comfort you. Like, oh my God, I can't believe you're going through all this. The way I would just like throw up if someone who literally was at the forefront of a lynch mob against me, the way that Lala was against Rachel, all of a sudden tries to feign concern for me. Like, it's just so insane to me. And then to profit off of it with the send it to Daryl merchandise that you actually see her wear in the show, with music and with podcasts and with Amazon Lives. Like, you were not thinking about my well-being when you were doing all that. So what is going on? Like, Lala, she just seems so lost and unhinged to me. And she's always trying to project her situation with Randall onto everything. And it's just so annoying. We're sick of it. Like, come on now. So I will give her props, though, because Lala actually owns her S. When she sits back down with the rest of the girls, she admits to Ariana that she reached out to Rachel and everything like that. And I got to say, Katie's face, the way her jaw dropped to the ground, it wasn't in a contrived way, the way that Kyle Richards does on the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. You know how annoying her things are. It's always, so dramatic. Or she does the lip filler thing. Like her and Khloe Kardashian. I don't think it's like an automatic thing when you do lip fillers, but like certain lip filler girlies, they just have that always a look to them. So she's always doing that. But it wasn't that Katie. Katie was genuinely shocked. And so that was kind of like priceless to see her be so confused as to why this girl who hated Rachel from the very beginning and who did all this stuff against her is suddenly feeling bad, and wanting to reach out to her. But before she drops the tea to Ariana, she sets the scene by kind of blaming Ariana for the reason why she does this. She's like, Ariana, like, do you actually like me? I feel like you just tolerate me. So is that why you're going behind her back and low-key hating on her and reaching out to a woman who did her so damn dirty, Lala? Is that how you're going to justify this to yourself? Interesting. I gotta say, I think that so far, Lala is showing herself to be a villain of this season, and I find her to just be so hypocritical, right? And Ariana points out the hypocrisy in Lala because remember, when Lala broke up with her meal ticket, what did she say? Don't you guys dare even talk to him. Not a single word, not a hello, not a how are you doing, nothing. Because if you talk to that man, you're out of my life for good. Tom Schwartz talked to him about pickleball, and Lala freaked the F out. Okay. But this same girl who has these kinds of standards, you have to have 1,000% loyalty. Don't ever talk to my ex. She's the one who goes behind your back and talks to the mistress. What about that? Ariana, you know what to do. Go call up Randall's mistress and talk to her. Have some empathy for her. It's sad. You too were isolated by Tom Sandoval, right? So go ahead. Go talk to her. Let's see how Lala feels about that because it's just absolutely ridiculous. Okay. I really feel like Lala low-key hates Ariana and all the support that she's getting. And that's why she's like planting all these little seeds to mess things up for Ariana. Keep a very, very close eye on her as the season progresses, you guys, because she's going to keep doing it. She really, really is. She's always going to look for ways to undermine or shade Ariana. And I've got my eyes peeled to these streets for that. But in the meantime, listen, if you enjoyed my recap, definitely do make sure to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already, and to give this stream a like so that my videos continue to push and pop up in your algorithm and in the algorithms of people like you here on YouTube as well, who enjoy pop culture, celebrity, and reality TV news. Okay. Now, let me know if you're watching the replay, if you're not watching the live chat, let me know in the replay what you thought about this episode, how you'd rate it on a scale of 1 to 10. A lot of people on Twitter said that they would rate it actually quite low. They didn't really like the episode too much, but listen, I loved it. I feel like we're seeing Lala turn heel, and there's a lot of just interestingness in seeing the way that people pick back up after that big scandal broke last season. So I would actually rate it quite high. I would give it a 9 or a 10, but hey, we've all got different opinions. Let me know how you would rate it. And as usual, we'll chat. That's all for now. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.